I'm Austin's Animals, collecting all things furry. Join me today in the Matrix as I look at a vintage furry comic book.
Furtual Reality tells the story of a promising young game developer fighting for her own life as she is trapped within her own creation, a deadly video game. The comic was published in 1998 by Shonda Fantasy Arts, a furry comic book publisher best known for the long-running Shonda the Panda series. Furtual Reality, however, isn't a comic book series, but rather a one-shot. It tells a complete story within its 48 pages, which is great. With comic books running for many issues and having long continuities, it's great to be transported to another world in just one issue. From what I gather, the comic book was written, drawn, inked, and colored by Charles Ettinger, a comic book professional. He's worked on titles like Dick Tracy and drawn for Warner Brothers, and his work is truly amazing. Check out his DeviantArt to see all of his great work. The year is 2006, and two lovers, a cat and a tiger, develop video games together. However, they're pressured by their board of directors to come up with an astonishing video game hit and do it fast or they'll lose their jobs. Facing immense pressure, the two decide to develop a virtual reality game, albeit a dangerous one. However, development on the game is rushed, resulting in a freak accident, leaving our main female lead completely paralyzed. She may have lost her body, but she hasn't lost her mind, as it remains trapped within the video game world she developed. The video game world, known as Virtuaopolis, has great world building and combines the likes of Blade Runner and Y2K aesthetic. It makes for a nice contrast with the drab real world that we cut to. However, the clock is ticking for our main heroine. She has written in her will that if she were ever to become fully paralyzed, she would be put to sleep within the next 24 hours. So she has to escape the video game world and get back in her body before the doctors put her to sleep. All the while, facing off against a host of video game baddies. One dynamic I really like in this comic book is that the video game developers are real introverts, nerdy types you would expect to develop video games. Yet when our main heroine becomes the video game hero, clad in shiny spandex, she becomes much more confident. I won't give away what happens next in the comic, as I recommend you pick it up yourself, but I will compliment the amazing artwork drawn by Charles Ettinger. The characters look great, and the world depicted in the video game is slick and sexy, and contrasts nicely with the drab world of today. We're given this great Tron-like dynamic with dingy video game development studios, with problems like employee turnover and crunch, real problems we see today in the video game industry. The depiction of video game developers is shockingly real, and seems to predict a lot of what the industry would face in the 2000s. For a comic book published in 1998, it remains as relevant today as ever. The writing is sharp and witty, and all of the characters are generally pretty likable. The character designs are interesting and diverse, and create a believable furry world. I really like these designs. The art is just great. The book nicely balances action and drama. For every page of video game troopers blasting away, we get some real-world drama. Since the two game developers are in love, there's a lot of tension here. The one developer in the real world believes his girlfriend is paralyzed and gonna die, while the one in the video game believes she's never gonna see her lover again. All the while, they could never admit their true love in real life because they were so awkward and introverted. It's a great story of nerdy game developers fighting for their lives. I love how vintage furry comics have ads for old furry cons too. It's great to see what theme they had that year and where the convention was held. Here's an advertisement for Conference X in Garden Grove, California. And here's an ad for another furry comic, Wild Side. I've never read it. Check out all this awesome, cool furry merch you could have bought. A Furtual Reality t-shirt, University of Anthropomorphics, Have a Furry Day, and a Terry the Cricket bikini poster. Personally, I'd love to have this short, though I am curious if the Furtual Reality t-shirt was actually produced. It's pretty cool they were willing to make merchandise for what was just a one-shot comic. And don't forget some pins. Here's an ad for the Memphis Fur Meet in Memphis, Tennessee. And an ad for another furry comic. Furtual Reality, an underrated furry gem. I love finding stuff like this. There's almost no documentation of this comic book on the internet, which is a real shame. The story is solid, the world building is great, and the characters are likable. It gives you everything a good comic should have. If you can track down a copy of this out-of-print comic, I'd highly recommend it. It's a good one to have.